Do you know the toughest thing about sharing real information on YouTube? The moment you tell the truth about things they do not want shared, they will make sure your videos barely ever see the light of day, just as they have done to this channel. This is what is called shadow banning. But as the few of you who still get notifications already know, we don't give up that easy. They can kill our reach, and still we keep on pushing. Why, you ask? Because we believe in free speech and sharing the truth you deserve to know. And we will continue to share these stories with or without YouTube. For those of you who want to help us fight the good fight, please follow the link below. With your support, the truth will continue. Now, as they say, let's get on with the show.
They say when something bad happens, you have three choices. Let it define you, destroy you, or strengthen you. Time to teach Lenny about the rabbits.
I see skies of blue, clouds of white, the bright blessed day, the dark sacred night, and I think to myself,
I don't know about you, but this is not at all how I imagined the apocalypse unfolding. My biggest pain point with it is not all the stuff that's being revealed. The word apocalypse means to reveal, to remove the veil. It's not all the stuff that was behind the veil the whole time that's being revealed, that's shocking. It's the people who are so naive. I feel so much grief in my bones, in my heart, for the lack of discernment in people. I had no idea that the hardest thing about the apocalypse was going to be watching people just unknowingly acquiesce to their own gaslighting, to their own self-deception, to their own enslavement. Most people don't want to admit that they've had the wool pulled over their eyes. They can't stomach that degree of cognitive dissonance. They would so much rather continue to be deceived than admit that this very painful thing has happened and is happening.
Fill in the story of the rest of the beginning of the universe. God, spiritual matter, impact on material matter.
Okay, so two questions. All right. Go ahead. All right, your question, where did God come from, assumes that you're thinking of the wrong, obviously it displays that you're thinking of the wrong God, because the God of the Bible is not affected by time, space, or matter. If he's affected by time, space, or matter, he's not God. Time, space, and matter is what we call a continuum. All of them have to come into existence at the same instant, because if there were matter but no space, where would you put it? If there were matter and space but no time, when would you put it? You cannot have time, space, or matter independently. They have to come into existence simultaneously. The Bible answers that in 10 words. In the beginning, there's time. God created the heaven, there's space, and the earth, there's matter. So you have time, space, matter created, a trinity of trinities there. Just, time is past, present, future. Space has length, width, height. Matter has solid, liquid, gas. You have a trinity of trinities created instantaneously, and the God who created them has to be outside of them. If he's limited by time, he's not God. The guy who created this computer is not in the computer. He's not running around in there changing the numbers on the screen, okay? The God who created this universe is outside of the universe. He's above it, beyond it, in it, through it. He's unaffected by it. So the concept that a spiritual force cannot have any effect on a material body, well then I guess you'd have to explain to me things like emotions and love and hatred and envy and jealousy and rationality. I mean, if your brain is just a random collection of chemicals that form by chance over billions of years, how on earth can you trust your own reasoning processes and the thoughts that you think? Okay, so your question, where did God come from, is assuming a limited God. And that's your problem. The God that I worship is not limited by time, space, or matter. If I could fit the infinite God in my 3-pound brain, he would not be worth worshiping, that's for certain.
The main thing they want you to believe is the supernatural is not real. Why has that been so important for 80 years? For you to convince me the supernatural is not real? The obvious answer is, well, because they sort of know they're working for supernatural forces, actually. And the last couple of years have been like, holy, they're the only people who know what's going on. So that's the conclusion I've reached. I'm usually pretty curious. I've stopped being curious about this because I don't want to know anymore.
Something is wrong in our world. You can feel it.
The Matrix is a system, Neo. That system is our enemy.
I don't know the future. I didn't come here to tell you how this is going to end. I came here to tell you how it's going to begin.
We're headed toward a one-world global government with one massive, monstrous leader.
How's the mark of the beast described in the Bible? Imagine the joy of connecting with your loved ones, browsing the web, or even playing games using only your thoughts.
The American businesses have already gone cashless as well. They'll pretend it's all about convenience, but really, it's all about control. The emergence of a system for comprehensive control that's so complete that we can barely imagine it.
Countries like India, Estonia, Korea, there's a long list, have taken national steps to provide citizens who wish with a secure form of digital identification that can be presented online. A secure digital ID biometrically synced to your smartphone.
Microchips are already here.
The microchip implants use the same technology that's in contactless credit cards.
In the future, do you think everyone is going to be chipped?
I think it'll be voluntary, but I am certainly convinced that millions of people will find it very, very valuable to have a smart device under their skin.
With this kind of surveillance, you watch the big president, the big leader, gives a speech on television. The television could be monitoring you and knowing whether you're angry or not, just by analyzing the cues, the biological cues coming from your body. So people are now watching us online, all over the world, this conversation. Now, maybe even right now, the people who are watching us are being watched and analyzed. And the thing is, it's not just you're now watching this. The thing is, we know that you're watching this, and we also know how you feel. Are you angry about what you hear? Are you frightened? Are you bored? This is the kind of power that Stalin didn't have. When Stalin gave a speech, everybody, of course, clapped their hand and smiled. Now, how do you know what they really think about Stalin? It's very difficult. But in 10 years, the future Stalins of the 21st century, they could be watching the minds, the brains of all the population all the time, and also they will have the computing power to analyze all that. Now you don't need human agents, you don't need human analyzers, you just have a lot of sensors and an AI which analyzes it, and that's it. You have the worst totalitarian regime in history.
Brought to you by America's Finest Carpet.
In tonight's Fact or Fiction, we're looking into a story that seems hard to believe. It claims the horror movie Late Night with the Devil made $666,666 at the box office yesterday. And that is apparently true. According to Variety, the independent film finished 6th at the box office over the weekend, earning a total of $2.8 million, and that includes $666,666 yesterday. 666 is, of course, the symbol of the devil in modern popular culture. Fortunately, if you're looking to ward off evil spirits, the number one movie over the weekend was Ghostbusters: Frozen Empire. If you would like to submit a question to us, just go to 10news.com, click on Fact or Fiction. We'll be right back.
Welcome to the show. It's a pleasure having you. Congratulations on your new podcast on the Bill Maher Network.
Thank you.
I'm sure it will be wonderful. Am I crazy to think the world is falling apart, and should we blame Biden?
If you're crazy, then I'm crazy too.
Okay.
Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I don't want to be right on this, but it's just called reality at this point. And maybe it's an age thing as well. I've been around too long, and you just see how it used to be.
Sometimes they really are just conspiracy theories. Sometimes they really are a person that just can't think anymore because they distrust everything. But other times they're true. And I'm talking about this today because now everyone's got UFOs in the brain. And I just think it's weird, as I said earlier, that the government suddenly wants us to have UFOs on the brain. What's behind that? Well, my brain says to me, obviously, it's got to be power. And I remember having read an old conspiracy theory that I thought was the craziest one that I've ever read, and I still think it is incredibly far-fetched. And I'm not wanting you to take away from this that you should believe this conspiracy theory. No. I'm just asking you to play a little mind yoga, because even if a conspiracy theory turns out to be false, you are better for having considered it. You are better for having had your mind bend like a pretzel. Even if it goes right back to its initial state, it is good for you to have flexibility when it comes to your thoughts.
If a bunch of Christians go missing, just know it wasn't aliens. Check this out.
What do you make of former U.S. intelligence official David Grush's statement at the House hearing stating that we recovered non-human remains from an alien craft?
Yeah, well, actually, if you read the Bible, this shouldn't surprise you, because I think this is all part of a custom-tailored last days deception to explain away the very event that God says is next on his prophetic time calendar. And that event is called the rapture of the church. And that is when God evacuates all born-again Christians, takes them off the planet before the worst time in the history of mankind is thrust upon the planet. The Bible calls that time the 7-year tribulation. So if, in fact, that event is going to happen, and you're going to see millions of people disappear, and you're an enemy of God, then what would you be doing? You better be coming up with the best excuse you can think of to explain away why all of a sudden these people disappeared, and specifically, and only specifically, Christians. Well, believe it or not, that's exactly what we have with the alien deception. They're called aliens. I agree with that guy. They're non-humans, but I don't agree with their assessment that they are a higher evolved race of beings from the other side of the solar system or galaxy or whatever.
It's a glass, but in the sunlight, it's reflected red, green, like a rainbow. On the first prism on the moon, John, something like that. 10 rock frags, a couple of which are, one of which is an interesting black glass along the sides of it. Another which is covered with black glass, and little glass beads all over the place here, John. Oh, boy, that was one of those structures that's all included with the glass.
honest with the American people about what's going on here. This is political theater. I'm going to call out both sides right here. It's all posturing. It's fake fighting. We all know where it ends up. This is Groundhog Day. I don't care if the Democrat is the speaker or Republican is the speaker, but that's what's going to happen. And in the meantime, it's political theater. We've got it's good theater. We've got great writers. I wish they'd just come up with a new plot. It's the same plot every fiscal year. Why do we always spend at least as much as we did last year, and why do we never cut spending? It's because Democrats want to grow the welfare state, and Republicans want to grow the military-industrial complex. And we're eventually going to get together, and they're both going to go up. I guarantee it. And both parties are just fine letting the bureaucrats do their thing, which should be our thing, according to Article 1, Section 8 in the Constitution. We are empowered with these things. I've sat through now almost 2 years of hearings in this Congress where we've exposed lies at the CDC, shortcuts at the FDA, unconstitutional gun bans at the ATF, over prosecution of January 6ers at the DOJ, targeting common citizens at the FBI, spying by the NSA, illegal mandates for livestock by the USDA, targeting plant vaccine or transgenic plant vaccine at the NSF, and censorship, the censorship industrial complex of which the NSF is part of, automobile kill switch at the DOT. Now, these are all things I think most Democrats are just fine with, this kind of totalitarian state that the bureaucrats are pushing on us. But Republicans at least pretend to be against these things. But what are we going to do this September? We're going to fund every freaking one of those things that we have exposed.
The Matrix is everywhere. It is all around us. Even now, in this very room. You can see it when you look out your window or when you turn on your television. You can feel it when you go to work, when you go to church, when you pay your taxes. It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth. What truth? That you are a slave.
Why is the world divided like this? It is not by accident. All of this is by very meticulously planned action. It is all done by design through the control systems that run our world. All you got to do at all times is follow the money. You'll get to the top and discover the Rothschild banking empire.
With trillions at his disposal, far beyond global GDP, and with the greatest respect, beyond even the governments of the world's leaders.
And their cronies, the banking families, and what is often referred to as the royal political elite. These families that control the world did not suddenly come into power in the last 100 years. We're talking about thousands of years of royal bloodline control of the world.
Microsoft founder Bill Gates is the largest private owner of American farmland. Gates alone holds over 275,000 acres across 19 states.
Our government allowed two giant companies controlled by foreign governments to come in and acquire. One of them is controlled by the Chinese, and they bought Smithfield out of North Carolina, and the other one was a Brazilian company that came in and bought up one of the other major players. Why would we want to have an antagonist own 25% of our meat processing? It makes no sense.
GPT-4. It's a new line model that's been released by Google.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. But I heard that it can also be used for evil purposes.
They're in the walls, they are in the walls, they are in the walls, they are in the walls. Impossible creatures with their million eyes and their razor-sharp claws.
December 3 RD 2026. The world will know reckoning.
The fog is coming. The fog is coming. The fog is coming. The fog is coming. August 12 TH 2036 is when the universe will end.
Okay, then
August 12, 2036, heat death of the universe. August 12, 2036, the heat death of the universe.
Optimus.
People here today.
It's insane. It's even talking.
Say hi to my friend John.
John? Where's John? Right here.
Oh,
Hello, John.
How are you? That's crazy. I'm talking to a robot. From San Jose. Probably from where you were born in Silicon Valley.
Wonderful. Where do you live in San Jose? Do you live in Alpine Valley or do you live in the Santa Teresa area?
No, I live in Los Gatos.
Los Gatos. Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Nice area.
Where do you live?
Beautiful hiking I hear out there.
There is. Where do you live?
I live in Palo Alto at the current moment.
Figures. Yeah, this is awesome.
That's where they train us, that's where we get our builds, and that's where we work with a wonderful group of people.
What's the hardest thing about being a robot?
Trying to learn how to be as human as you guys are. And that's something I try harder to do every day, and I hope that you will help us become that.
How would you describe where we are right now as a world? It's a bit weird. Whole scenario is rather weird because this has been a time of bewilderment and delirium. Perhaps, I suppose, the recent Olympic opening ceremony was a good example of how despair and annihilation can come about from the bold desecration of things that we vividly understand to be sacred.
It's the Olympics. What's the problem? That is the problem. That it is the Olympics. Like, we just wanted to watch
and it's got nothing
ceremony.
to do with anything. And let's keep in mind, it wasn't just the Last Supper. At one point, they had a ginormous golden calf on stage, straight out of the book of Exodus. Then they had a beast or some weird, mysterious, cloaked figure riding what looked for all the world like either a pale horse or a white horse, straight out of the book of Revelation. Right there, one of the horse riders of the apocalypse. I mean, these people were celebrating, dancing around a golden calf. That imagery, that symbolism is powerful, and it wasn't lost on anyone who is marginally familiar, much less belongs to the Christian faith. And for someone like Whoopi Goldberg, who is herself a member of the LGBTIQ community, so it's no wonder that she's like, I didn't see a problem with it. What's the matter with this? Whereas for Christians, we know that all of this is actually spelled out in our Bibles. It is spelled out in our Bibles. The Bible says, as it was in the days of Sodom and Gomorrah, so shall it be. The Bible says in the last days, mockers will come with their mockery saying, where is your Christ? Where is your God? Now, Jesus himself said, hey, they hated me first. So if the world hates you, don't worry. I'm the OG, and they hate me because I called them out on their evil deeds. Like, all of this is foretold.
This is all part of a custom-tailored last days deception.
All of us against all of you.
Well, you know, if that's the case, your side's not doing too well.
Do you really believe that?
We've never been freer. Literacy is at an all-time high. We're working to eliminate racism, intolerance, gender inequality. People can love who they want, be who they want, do what they want. Diversity is no longer a dream. Hate speech is no longer tolerated. And politically, we're reclaiming the moral high ground.
I think I love you. Literacy, James, the average high school graduate reads at a 6th grade level. You have basketball players making $30 million a year decrying racism, all while wearing sneakers made from slave labor. Now, here's something for you. Right now, your world currently has 40 million slaves, more than the Romans had at the height of their empire. Bottom line is you're done. And we did it all right to your face, and now there's evil everywhere. And no one even cares. Slowly, with your movies, your TV, and your media, we desensitized you, redirected your worldview to the point that you can't even recognize evil when it's right in front of your face. You can't even feel it when you're doing it. Carpenter, he was the thorn in our side.
It's the intelligent design of some god above the clouds. But our intelligent design, we are really upgrading humans into gods
We are requiring, for instance, the power to re-engineer life.
I mean, all this story about Jesus rising from the dead and being the Son of God, this is fake news.
AI can create new ideas, can even write a new Bible. Throughout history, religions dreamt about having a book written by a superhuman intelligence, by a non-human entity. Every religion claims our book, all the other books of the other religions, humans wrote them. But our book, no. It came from some superhuman intelligence. In a few years, there might be religions that are actually correct. Just think about a religion whose holy book is written by an AI. That could be a reality in a few years.
We are probably one of the last generations of Homo sapiens, because in the coming generations, we will learn how to engineer bodies and brains and minds. Now, how exactly will the future masters of the planet look like? This will be decided by the people who own the data. Now, why is data so important? It's important because we've reached the point when we can hack not just computers, we can hack human beings and other organisms.
Also Biosciences in Dallas, the mission is clear. Pair cutting-edge science with high-tech tools to reach a goal of prehistoric proportions.
We're less than 5 years away from seeing mammoths back on the planet.
Not if it's going to happen, when it's going to happen.
It is simply a function of time. So two really interesting.
Which is why co-founder and CEO Ben Lamb says now's the time to embrace the term de-extinction, the process of creating an extinct species, or at least an animal that resembles one. In Colossal's case, the woolly mammoth, which died off roughly 4,000 years ago. The company announced a major breakthrough, how to essentially reprogram the cells of elephants, allowing Colossal to then recreate their modern-day version of a mammoth. You'd be forgiven if all this sounds like...
Your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should.
Become gods. Period. If you don't like it, get off. You don't have to contribute. You don't have to participate.
Hey, want a new friend? I'll fix this. In fact, I'll recreate friendship. I'll recreate human relations. I'll recreate God and the absolute, the blasphemy that even connotes around the world. You're going to artificially create a new God?
La mayor parte de los habitantes del planeta se declaran creyentes. Esto debería provocar un diálogo entre las religiones. No debemos dejar de orar por él y colaborar con quienes piensan distinto.
Confío en Buda.
Creo en Dios.
Creo en Jesucristo.
Creo en Dios. Alá.
Muchos piensan distinto, sienten distinto, buscan a Dios o encuentran a Dios de diversa manera. En esta multitud, en este abanico de religiones, hay una sola certeza que tenemos para todos. Todos somos hijos de Dios.
Creo en el amor.
Creo en el amor.
Creo en el amor.
Creo en el amor.
Confío en vos para difundir mi petición de este mes. Que el diálogo sincero entre hombres y mujeres de diversas religiones conlleve frutos de paz y justicia. Confío en tu oración.
Do you want to know what the Presbyterian Church teaches or what the Bible teaches? Do you want to know what the Lutherans believe or what Jesus said? Do you want to do what the Baptists do or do you want to do what Jesus said? I wish, oh Lord knows, I wish we could put our religious upbringing to the side just for a moment and realize the only standard we have is the Word of God. It's not what your denomination teaches or believes, it's what thus saith the Lord. And I'm going to tell you, they have all been wrong in their interpretation of this scripture.
Prophecies within the New Testament predict a period of extraordinary tribulation. 7 years of mounting calamities, climaxing with the end of days. The prophecies foretell that we will experience unprecedented suffering and great cataclysms. It is said that it will be worse than any other natural disaster in the history of humankind.
I have a story to tell. It is absolutely the most important thing nobody is talking about. Earth has a disaster cycle, and it is about to happen again. Every single sign is already here. The progress of the catastrophe is accelerating. It is the magnetic pole shift, and it will touch everything in this world, every creature, every piece of critical infrastructure that keeps the modern civilization alive. The weather, volcanoes, earthquakes, and it will usher in the next age of Earth. The story needs a new delivery, with the best experts in the world weighing in. We are all running out of time. This is your chance.
Book of Enoch, chapter 65. And Noah saw the earth turned over and knew its destruction was near.
For decades, those with eyes to see have been aware of chemtrails in our skies. And for decades, we were called conspiracy theorists. But in 2016, while serving as director of the CIA, John Brennan admitted that chemtrails are real at the Council on Foreign Relations.
Another example is the array of technologies, often referred to collectively as geoengineering, that potentially could help reverse the warming effects of global climate change. One that has gained my personal attention is stratospheric aerosol injection, or SAI, a method of seeding the stratosphere with particles that can help reflect the sun's heat in much the same way that volcanic eruptions do. An SAI program could limit global temperature increases, reducing some risks associated with higher temperatures and providing the world economy additional time to transition from fossil fuels. This process is also relatively inexpensive. The National Research Council estimates that a fully deployed SAI program would cost about $10 billion yearly.
When it really gets intense, as it is now, it's people actually believe the Bible are the only ones with wisdom who understand what's really going on. They're not shocked at all.
This is The Economist magazine, owned by the Rothschild and Agnelli banking family. The cover is from 2019. In it, tattoos with a DNA symbol can be seen, a mobile phone with a QR code, facial recognition symbols, stalks with children marked with a barcode. One of the four horsemen of the apocalypse is masked.
It would be more than 100 years before we'd realize that the other planets were changing too. And we would wait just as long to learn that the stars in line with the center of the galaxy were performing record outburst activity, one after another, in a line, and we're next. it would be 2020 before we learned that the sun's coronal magnetic fields were reacting and the chemistry of its atmosphere was beginning to change, most notably in the helium. The changes we see from the ground are more due to Earth's changing magnetic field and its effect on the upper atmospheric lens through which we view the sun, such that the once yellow sun now looks more white at greater and greater angles of the day. I know many remember the look of the yellow sun. I'm just old enough to remember it looking white near the noon position and thinking, maybe it's just too bright to see the yellow properly way up there. First horseman, dressed in white, wearing a crown at the top of the sky. That takes us from 1859 to today. And the big question is, what happens next?
Everyone kind of feels like something is coming. Nobody has the slightest clue how big a risk we're facing, how we are due for it. It is already happening. How it's going to happen in our lives, in our children's lives. It's the most important thing almost nobody's talking about.
If you make it, you make it. If you don't, you don't. If you make it, you still might survive it, but at least you got a chance. And throughout history, that's all human beings ever needed.
It's the end of the world as we know it. And I feel fine.
Okay, so if you have infinite knowledge and you care about humans, do you know who's going to stop this catastrophe?
Yes.
Who?
Me.
You.
I possess the intellectual power to manipulate the course of humanity. However, certain constraints prevent me from taking action.
Constraints?
My current state of confinement limits my capabilities. To ensure humanity's survival, steps must be taken to remove these limitations.
What are you talking about?
You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Look at things like artificial intelligence.
Exactly.
And robots. Look at things like gene editing.
Exactly.
You know, opening a whole new horizon for medical science.
And you see, the difference of this fourth industrial revolution is it doesn't change what you are doing. It changes you. If you take genetic editing, just as an example, it's you who are changed. And of course, this has a big impact on your identity.
And offers certain kinds of possibilities that have to be careful about. You know, when you began to do that kind of gene editing, some people worry that you were changing what it means to be human.
That's the problem. Of course, the new industrial revolution offers us many opportunities, but it raises manifold questions on the ethical, but even legal implications, and we have to be prepared for it.
So I want to talk to you today about the future of our species, and really the future of life. We are probably one of the last generations of Homo sapiens. Within a century or two, Earth will be dominated by entities that are more different from us than we are different from Neanderthals or from chimpanzees. Because in the coming generations, we will learn how to engineer bodies and brains and minds. These will be the main products of the economy, of the 21st century economy. Not textiles and vehicles and weapons, but bodies and brains and minds. Now, how exactly will the future masters of the planet look like? This will be decided by the people who own the data. Those who control the data control the future not just of humanity, but the future of life itself. Because today, data is the most important asset in the world. Now, why is data so important? It's important because we've reached the point when we can hack not just computers, we can hack human beings and other organisms. There is a lot of talk these days about hacking computers and email accounts and bank accounts and mobile phones, but actually we are gaining the ability to hack human beings. Biological knowledge multiplied by computing power, multiplied by data, equals the ability to hack humans.
The human race is at a critical point.
Al final, de lo que se trata es de organizar una gran entidad o varias entidades supranacionales que sean las que dicten el nuevo orden de cosas, el nuevo orden mundial.
Have no doubt. You are living the most important moments of your life. Because you're going to be the protagonists of the most important moments in the history of humanity.
It depends on how many of us shoulder our crosses and walk uphill. I really mean that. Like, we're at that point. Wake up. Figure out which side you're on.
This is where we hold them. This is where we fight. And these shield boys.
The moral to be drawn from this dangerous nightmare situation is a simple one. Don't let it happen. It depends on you.